Hey y'all, it's LMC. I wanted to do video 6 and do a breakdown of some of the key points that I've synthesized thus far going through the little neighborhood plan that they've created, this boondoggle. I haven't gone through the entire plan. I've just been going through it with you on Zoom, and I found some other questionable things, but I just wanted to kind of stop and do a recap. I had done this previously. I don't use presentation slides ever, but I did make some and I tried to share screen and it didn't show it on the video when I did the last video. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm not going to be in presentation mode, but you can get it. So the first thing I want to talk about is that there's no contact information on the city website for the planning and zoning commissioners. So let me just kind of show you what I mean. I'm going to stop sharing screen. I'm going to open up my browser and I'm going to show you how, if I wanted to contact my commissioners and send them my videos, that is not possible. So let's go into the city website, and the way that you navigate to boards, and you go to boards and commissions, and then you scroll on down here to the planning and zoning. And here is, notice there's no contact information. So you have to understand, okay, I'm going to click on this. And now I'm going to, and you have to be observant, go, oh, here's the member roster. Well, they've got the member roster, right? Let's just click on David Case. There's no email contact for David Case. So if we go back and we have to remember now, oh, I got to make sure that once again, we're going to scroll down to the planning and zoning. And there's no email contact here. So the user of the website has to go, oh, member roster, they got to find that tab. Let's go to William Agnew, no email contact. Okay, so that's my first concern, is that there's no way for me as an individual to contact my planning and zoning commissioners and raise any objections I have. Now I want to go through my presentation, some of the key points. And once again, I'm not going to spend all weekend making a presentation. I just wanted you to have a visual to go along with my verbal advocacy. There's no contact information for the planning and zoning members. The historic preservation and the neighborhood commission this plan should be vetted through them. And it's not happening. In fact, what this plan is doing is it's creating a situation where the plan now becomes more important than the HPC. And it's upserving it's delegitimizing the people on the commission, their education, their experience of dealing with these issues at firsthand, with a group that clearly, if you watch my last video, some of them have very strong ideological bents that are anti-historic preservation. And I would encourage any of y'all to do your research. We have a recession on the horizon next year. And one thing I noticed when I did a little bit of research on these plans is I was like, are you out to lunch, LMC? And then I found this document, and they actually talk about in the document how these plans should have, let me find it, how they should have, it's like non-negotiable. You should, here it is, right here. Let me show you. And this is even the city of Austin, people. So that's like super sus if we're not doing it. Implementation framework, goals is essential. Funding is essential. Nowhere in this document does city staff tell you how much this is going to cost. And this is, and all that, if you didn't notice just a second ago, the source was the American Planning Institute is who the source was of that. Yeah, the American Planning Association. So, and this is the problem I have with city staff, is that once again, they're asking the kids, do you want a Tootsie Roll? Do you want a Mars bar? Or do you want a lollipop? They're not saying, well, it's going to come out of your piggy bank. And by the way, you've only got $3 in your piggy bank, or if you only got 25 cents in your piggy bank. And I take issue that this whole plan is a cockamamie idea for them to create more city staff infrastructure for themselves, creating jobs. In fact, I'd love to see that. I need to file an open records request for that study, that compensation study, because some of these jobs and consultants may actually be on from this document. And I noticed that this one guy, the one from the last video who I showed his picture on LinkedIn, he's now a city staffer. So we've got Linda Huff, a former city staffer. We've got Amy Kerwin and this Alex guy, who's now all city staff, 3 of them. And then we have 2 realtors, and we've got Ryan Patrick Perkins, who's a historical preservationist, and then other people who they may be great people. I mean, one of these individuals, thank goodness we had 1 African-American, and then we had Dr. Holt, that's 2 African-Americans. But I'm wondering how much planning background. Then we have a school individual who works for the school district. So this was stacked from the beginning. They should have taken comments from the neighbors from past developments at public hearings on public record versus sticky notes that do not identify where these individuals live, and it's very subjective city staff data management. And there should be charts of the comprehensive plan steering committee so we know where they are, what their bias is, that whole thing, what their experience is. There should have been some sort of application process. Then we have ecological considerations, and this is why I'm concerned about the one individual I showed him. He's part of some, trails situation, and Lisa Arsenault. You guys know that these bike and road projects and bus stops are over the Edwards, like the transition zone for the Edwards Aquifer. And those blacktop overlays have a lot of petroleum products. And I've got the email from Sabas Avila admitting that it's petrochemical products, and that's harmful to the river, which means it's going right into the storm drains. And then it's going into the river, not to mention the air particulate problems and the carcinogenic implications to pets as well as humans. The tree protection, I really appreciate the effort on the part of city staff. It only took me 5 or 6 years and hundreds of hours of work, but it must be as normative as all of this transportation. There's a microscopic little coverage of tree protection. There's nothing in there about Native American artifacts. Ironically, we're talking about green spaces and culture, but we've completely left out the people who are the first neighborhood of this community. And so I find that it needs to be as normative with no wiggle room, because that's what they're going to do. They're going to shove it in the face of any citizen who takes issue with them butchering their tree. And they say, well, we're going to go ahead and do a bulb out, which they know they're going to bust up. It's going to cost $55,000. Now, with the cost of materials probably up to $70,000. Or they're going to say, well, we're going to do permeable pavers. It needs to be, these are historic areas. We need to preserve the soil for flooding and water retention, and we do not want to damage trees. The other thing is that there's no discussion on the Dunbar flooding as a result of the drainage gully behind Center Street, and I take issue once again with that breakdown of medium income of like $72,000 or something like that, when they're taking in consideration as we have Center Street as one of those blocks. I would like to see by $50,000 increments the actual breakdown, and especially with this economy. And remember, we're going to have a recession in next year, which means that there should be a budget attached to this. If we're going to have, everybody knows who is a strategic thinker, when you do implementation, you have a budget. But this is city staff pulling their same old shenanigans that they're going to say the public demands these bike stops, and then they're going to tax the heck out of us. And that is irresponsible on the part of city staff. No discussion on the high rises surrounding Dunbar, and the elephant in the room is the flooding, not only for Dunbar, but the high rises that they want to put up near the heritage neighborhoods, such as the Lamar School, and even up higher over there by the Elms, which is up on a hill, and it's going to create massive amounts of flooding. That is they're basically toying with people's lives to please people like Alex, who all he cares about is development. And I showed you the chat. I showed you exactly what he said in those steering committee meetings. Fiscal responsibility. The document focuses more on city staff projects versus protecting the neighborhoods. because this is gonna be part of my speech, right? There goes my apples and the dehydrator. There is no budget attached, included with the document. These programs will become tools to push neighbors out of their homes. These programs are developer friendly. And remember, with the recession coming, that also means building supply materials are going to be much higher, and it's going to be much more expensive for them to build new houses. And the economy is something definitely, in fact, I'm going to put this as my first main point. The document does not take into account recession in 2024 on the horizon. The programs are that public cannot afford these more taxes. The city staff will use this document as a mandate to justify an unreasonable budget, and the median income is very disconcerting. It demonstrates lack of due diligence of data reporting out. And then the final slide I have here is the buffer. The neighborhoods are under threat from development of the downtown and the university and the university. The neighborhood plans should have been implemented first. And this is something we requested that city staff refused to acknowledge. I mean, we've got an equity officer who's doing a dream session. I dream that city staff actually listen to those on a steering committee who give sound, rational reasons why they're making the requests that they're making. They're not acknowledging these threats in the document. The threats I'm talking about is from the university and the downtown. In fact, I should just bold that to underscore the point. And I'm like a color code lady. These documents enable threats and facilitate the harms that they create. And I'm talking about all this connectability stuff. This is all one big wish list is what this is. This is not a document protecting these neighborhoods. And the wish list will function in destroying these neighborhoods, all in the name of equity, which actually will displace African-American residents who are generational homeowners of those structures, those homes in Dunbar. Did not listen to the feedback of the Comp Plan Steering Committee, gave preference to this steering committee, which was stacked by ideological new urbanism bias. Did not listen to the written comments on the first two drafts. So that's all I got for you. This is a short and sweet video. The next video I dish out to you is going to be me breaking down the actual presentation. I may save that for after the meeting. Why would I want to broadcast? I mean, city staff have a copy of these videos. I've sent it to them, and they've ruined my weekend. So I hope they understand what they've done, and they don't care, y'all. All they care about is their career and building up. Like I said, if you run a small business, you want to increase your staff. You want to increase the amount of equipment and maybe land acquisition. And the city is the same thing. One thing I noticed, which really pissed me off, is they know Clara Street. And I don't know where the boundary ends for my block for the Heritage Plan. All they want to do is build some more bike lanes or more walk paths on Clara Street. It's all about city acquiring, and like back in the day when we had the settlers, right? The great, was it not the gold rush? Was it the land rush where they put their flag in? That's what the city, and they literally put a flag in your yard. This is going to grow city infrastructure, city staff consultants. At the end of the day, the only people who benefit are city staffers and developers, because let's face it, now these city staffers have this under their belt and they can go anywhere they want, just like all the city staffers before them. And they've left the taxpayers holding the bag. And the fact that they don't have a budget for this wish list and they didn't present the possible costs in these open houses is truly sus. Thank you for your time, and thank you for watching my video.